Whoa, 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 I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out. Hello, I'm Toycat, and government is basically religion, and that sounds like a crazy thing because religion is, of course, this ethereal concept that's not really definable around us, whereas government is something that is very solid and definitely exists. We can go and look at the government buildings. However, hear me out for just a second, because imagine I'm going to the South Downs National Park. I'm going to a great place like Hambledon, and in Hambledon, this very real place, I'm going down the road. You know, I'm driving down it because that's what people do here, and I want to work out the appropriate speed for this road. Well, how do I do that? Well, you might assume logically, because this is a real thing that you're doing in a real car. Well, the way you'd work out the appropriate speed to drive at is you look at the conditions, you look at the width of the road, you look at the cover you can see, how many cars you... No. That is not how that goes at all, you idiot. What you do is you look up the relevant holy text. In this case, in the country I follow, it is the Road Traffic Regulation Act of 1967. It's one of the more recent passages in this one. I mean, maybe one of the less recent ones, depending on how you want to see that. But in there, it will say very explicitly, it shall not be lawful for a person to drive a motor vehicle on a restricted road at a speed exceeding 30 miles per hour. And so if this is a restricted road, 30 miles per hour is how fast I can go. You read the holy book and you get a good feel of how you should live your life. And I know you're saying, Toycat, whoa, that's not how people actually work out the speed they should be going, right? The way you work out the speed you should go on a road, obviously it's nothing crazy and religious. All you gotta do is you look for a sign. You look for a sign about what the government wants you to do, and when you see that sign, you'll know in your heart what the correct speed is. So as soon as you see a sign like this, you're like, a 40 in a red circle. This is a sign from powers above that I must go 40 miles per hour. That is what people start to do, except for some reason, that's not what people take that as. This sign with a 40 above it, if it was going to mean something, you'd assume it means 40 miles per hour, right? Except what it really means to people, as I'm sure the Google Street View could capture, is the fact that, well, when you see a sign with 40 in it, by the way, that's a very odd 40 sign, like it's super low to the ground. But yeah, when you see a sign with 40 going through it, what that really means is, well, you know, there's the 10% plus 2 rule. If police officers won't even care about you, or speed cameras at the very least won't, unless you're going 10% plus 2 over the limit. So looking at this table, that means that you can be going up to 46 miles per hour before there's any real repercussions, any real issues that people care about, and therefore 45 miles per hour is totally moral and just. So this is meant to say anything between 0 and 40 is fine, but it really means, yeah, 40 to 45, that's probably your good space. Or maybe you have your own interpretation. How is it that something which is supposedly so fixed in stone, I mean, fixed in wood in this case, how is it something that is so real is so fictional at the same time? I posit to you, hear me out here, what if the government is just a religion that we're all following and we're all so deep in, it's also around us that we just don't quite realize it? I mean, when I take the UK maybe, you're seeing that and you're going like, yeah, this actually makes some sense, but let's take a much more obvious and fun example to point out. Well, our gun, you know, let's take this country. You familiar with this one? It's called the United States. I think it's quite popular because of a movie or something. If you've watched the movie, let me know. I haven't personally. But yeah, in the United States, there's this famous issue of, can you have a gun over there? Like, a lot of people don't know, like, should I pack my gun or should I leave it at home? They don't know if it's going to be allowed in this country. And the simple answer to checking that is, well, what you got to do is you got to read the scripture. You've got to go deep into, you know, thankfully, in that country, they follow a quite simple religion where they've got this like 200-year-old document, and then everyone just looks at that document. They don't bother like making new passages like in other countries, or they do, but I think the last time they did it was in 1992. So it's very infrequent. It's very good. And so if you want to work out, so are you allowed to have a gun in this place? Well, it's quite simple. You just go to Amendment 2, I believe, the right to bear arms. Because over there, they do believe that there is a serious right that you should be allowed to have arms of whichever animal you like. They're big on furries. They think that if you want to be part bear, you can be part bear. And so if you, obviously, if you read the actual, thing itself, you'll read that, well, actually, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right to people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Which, side note, first of all, how does this piece of text magically guarantee that you can have guns? None of that said guns. Not a single word in there said guns, right? Sorry, my voice hurts. Don't know if you can tell. Not a single word in that said guns. They said bear arms, and obviously arms is like a synonym for guns from when this was written. So we're just going to interpret this. We're going to ignore what this says, which says something about like a well-regulated militia. Are we allowed one of those? Is there a well-regulated militia? We'll ignore that bit because we don't want it. Necessary to the security of a free state. Well, is there a free state? I haven't been able to buy one, and I've been offering a lot more than 0. And also the right of the I could do this all day. But you see how like words can mean a lot of things, and so we just kind of interpret them how we want to interpret them. In the 2008 case, they worked out that this actually means the individual right to have a firearm unconnected with service in a militia is fine, such as self-defense in the home. But then like, okay, why is this a giant run-on sentence anyway? Wouldn't it be so much better if it wasn't? Wow, what's that? Is this a religious passage that we're all reading again and again and again? You ever read that Bible passage that's like, oh yeah, if you lay with another man, you should get stoned? What does that mean? I mean, laying with another man could mean like, yeah, don't share hotel rooms. That's bad for the hotel industry. That could mean if you lay with another man, you should get a lot of weed in you. That could mean that if you lay next to another man, you should be have stones thrown at you until you die. Maybe it means that one. Does that mean the Bible is against gay people, or does it just believe they should die? I mean, there's, it's really hard to work out. Should you be passive aggressive towards gay people if you're following that Bible passage, or should you just kill them? There's no easy way to conclude from this, and there's no easy way to say shall not be infringed. What about by other people who are using their right to bear arms? I, as a militia, think you're a bad militia, so I'm going to use my guns to infringe on your guns. There's so many questions about every one of these amendments. What about the Third Amendment? What is this one? No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner. I mean, that's a weird one. Anyway, so wait, the First Amendment, how about that one? I hear that's coming up a lot. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. I mean, if I keep making comments about how like the Bible wants to kill gay. If I kept making those comments, I bet that my freedom of speech would be abridged. I mean, not by Congress, I guess, but and there's the question, right? What does any of this actually mean? You have to interpret it yourself, and the way that most people interpret it is the way that it just happens. Okay, well, I mean, that makes some sense, at least, I guess. Like, well, we can all agree that there is a Road and Traffic Act regulation of 1967. We can all agree there's a point in which you have to go to court, which is when you're going 66 miles per hour when the sign says 40, I think, if someone catches you. How do you know if you should go above that? Because in reality, if you're going to the hospital, well, there's 66 miles per hour in all cases. Well, I mean, if your wife is dying, of course you can go above that. Whereas, going significantly below this as well, a 40 limit, you might assume, means, so speed limits, they make no sense. That's fine. The US Constitution, it's written in very old-timey language, and no one can quite understand it. And there's a lot of like extra parts to it that you have to understand this, because we reinterpret these words to kind of make them fit today. And that's the funny thing is like, yeah, even though people used to make fun of the days when no one was literate, back in the days of the Bible, the Middle Ages, when it was most prominent and we based our entire society around it, no one actually read the Bible. It was someone who was in charge, who read Latin, who was like, oh, trust me, I'm telling you what's in the Bible. Some of those guys stuck in some things like, oh yeah, apparently snakes are really cool. I mean, I'm reading this passage here, and they say snakes are real cool. We should go get your priest a snake. Wow, what a weird line in there. But stuff like that would have happened, and now everyone can read. You might assume like, well, now we can read. We don't have that problem. Everyone can read a Bible, and how many people have? Everyone can read the laws. How many people knew about the Road Traffic Act, Regulation Act of 1967 till just today? If you did know about that, do you know about what's the newest legislation? Do you know about literally the newest one, right? We got not statutory. We got to go further back clearly. Okay, the UK Public General Act, an act provision to make the Northern Ireland Assembly, which ministers may. These are boring bills. Give me like a spicy one. Can we go with random? Coronavirus legislation. That's a fun one. The Public Health Control of Diseases Act 1984. Do you know about the stopping of work to prevent disease spread? You read into all of this? Or are you governed by its rules even though you've never looked at it? Oh, wow, is this sounding like a certain book? And honestly, if this didn't say, oh, it doesn't actually show the legislation anyway, it just says it changed at some point. In 1991, you see, oh wow, the diseases. We got scarlet fever, gastroenteritis, dysentery. Was dysentery really a big thing in 1991? Is dysentery still a big thing? I don't know. I could look into that, but how I don't. But yeah, you're obviously saying right now, like, well, you're talking about legislation and holy books having stuff in common, Toycat, but that's not government being the same as religion. This is a silly premise because, you know, that's legislation being kind of like a Bible, that it rules you. But government itself, we all understand, like, it has certain limitations, and we all decide how it works. We don't all collectively decide on religion. But do we all collectively decide how government works? Can we all agree on the bare minimums of things? It sounds like not really. If you go something like, can the government just print money? Some people I genuinely really respect are like, you know, every time we cut spending, we're just being dicks to people. We have the ability to print our own money, and because of modern monetary theory, the more money you print, the richer you get. And so we're all letting ourselves be poor. And you might think, well, actually, as you can see, Yahoo Answers explains that, well, the government isn't in charge of printing money. And if they did, it wouldn't increase economic output, just increases cash in the economy. And, you know, you can't print money to get out of a downturn. But on the same, like, if this is such common knowledge, why is the New Yorker being like, yeah, so Bernie Sanders, who is like a major politician, is like, well, actually, how we pay for it shouldn't even be a question. He's saying that actually, I have not read this in the slightest. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, there we go. We've got MMT principles, and which so there is so much pressure on candidates to pay for everything. I don't see anyone, I don't mean anyone, putting forward ambitious agendas and saying we're not going to try and pay for any of this. And yeah, it's like, oh yeah, all we've done is leave ourselves trillions of dollars on the table by not taking advantage of the fiscal space we have, of running our economies below potential. See, this sounds like living below our means as a nation year after year. It sounds like crazy talk. Like, wait, you can't just. What do you mean you're just not printing money? Like but that's a thing you can do. I mean, sure, if you look at like, I don't know, like Zimbabwe, I think they brought up, like, sure, it's going badly for them. But, you know, the question is, can the UK just print more money? I mean, it might. You gotta find out. How can we not agree on something so basic? Like, well, you know, what happens if we print more of this? What even is this, right? This is you can find the exact serial note on here. This was the 1 trillion for something £5 note printed by the UK government. It is not a £5 note. It is a £5 debt. Confusingly enough, if you actually look into it, it says like, well, can you actually, you know, Mike? Okay, let's do this. If you read carefully, it says, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £5. You can't read it because my camera sucks, but just imagine you could, and imagine I'm not lying to you, because I could be reading from my holy book about the government and getting it wrong. But yeah, so yeah, you got like, okay, well, money is definitely real, though. You can use it to exchange things with other people, but only because they also believe in the money. The only reason that this 40 sign works at all is because everyone who sees it goes, oh, if I see this sign means 40, everyone else sees the sign means 40, and so I should be going the same speed they think we should be doing. You know, like, when we all see a sign, right, we should all react to it the same way. And that means that bad people who are going to try and beat me up and put me in prison, they're also going to see that and think I'm a bad person worth putting in prison if I don't follow it. Maybe I should. You know, they could follow the road traffic legislation or the Public Health Control of Disease Act legislation. Wouldn't help you drive down the road well. Or you could follow this weird 10% plus 2 rule from road law barristers. Or you could follow the US Constitution and say, well, you know, they can't abridge your free speech. They just can't do it. It's the freedom of expression to drive at 70 miles per hour. And, you know, I'd love to see you take that from me. And the truth is maybe that'd work. But the ultimate thing to say here is, I don't know where this is going now. I want to see what this next image is. Okay, so here's a dumb one, right? We should all be able to agree, even if we can't agree what money is or that you can't just print more of it, we should all agree that, like, okay, government has a clear head figure, right? There's one guy who's in charge of all of it. In the case of the UK, it's this man. There you go. Look at him. He's got a lovely piece of string in his hands. He looks very practical. He's smiling as the Google car comes past. I bet he doesn't want his face blurred even. It's just blurred by default. He probably lives in a nice house. Wait, does he live there? Let's find out. Are you allowed to do this? Ooh, maybe he lives there. You know, let's just be sure. No, I think he's come from further down the road. And I don't know why he's walking this way or what even happened to his face here. This is a very questionable blur. But yeah, the man who lives on Lane End. Yeah, no, I think he's playing with string there, and then the car comes past, and he's like, "Whoa, I better get out of the road, huh? There are Google cars coming through here." And then he gets, "Oh, there's my Twitter. I moved my whole window. Haven't done that one in a while." See, these videos are very professional. Can you tell? But yeah, no, that's the thing. Also, look, I always find road designs like this confusing. Like, which way around it do you go? Anyway, so with that said, the man who controls the United Kingdom who is that actually? Is it the guy who lives here, or is it the guy who lives here? Can we leave a review for 10 Downing Street? Oh, the cat's in the photo. Oh yeah, there we go. This is the man who owns 10 Downing. This is the man who rules the United Kingdom. We all agree. When it comes to the man who rules the United States, I think it's been exclusively men, so I can make that comment. It's not even sexist. It's just being accurate. Yeah, if you look at the man who rules the United States, how responsible is he for things going good or bad? Oh, it depends how much you like him. If you like a certain person and they're doing well for the economy or the stock market, wow, this guy's good for the economy and or stock market. If you like a guy and like, you know, like him or love him, like it looks like everyone besides Bush and Hoover were pretty good for the stock market returns, at least, which is how Americans measure their economy a lot of the time, which is kind of confusing to me. But you know, it's cultural differences. They follow a different holy book with different holy values to mine. Their holy texts look a lot like this actually. They're very green, and they do have numbers printed on them as well. But you know, if there is one subject that Americans are better at than a lot of the rest of the world, it is usually maths, right? Like you're doing algebra and stuff. You're like, okay, let's substitute numbers for like letters, so we can better imagine what it'd be like when you turn, you know, burgers into money or whatever else. Anyway, with that said, you can't even agree. Like, is it his fault? Did he do that? I mean, he was in charge when that happened, but was that his fault? I mean, if I like him, then it was, and if I don't like him, it probably wasn't. Also, this guy. Oh, if he did a good job, you better believe that was an accident. If he did a bad job, though, that was probably his fault. Same with this guy. Why did the economy go up so much under him? Must have been an accident, unless I like him. In which case, whoa! Look at the best president in the last 200 years. That's the time span on this image. Trust me, don't look at it. Anyway, so there's one more thing I wanted to dive into, and it's this map right here, because this is proof that if there is a religious figure you need to follow, that religious figure clearly resides in the UK. I mean, minus Wales, apparently. You know what, he clearly... Look at this. No earthquake hazard where I live. No worries for that whatsoever. You can probably tell by the lack of mountains, actually. Yeah, you know... Oh, look. There's a lack of mountains in this image, for sure. But if you look... Whoa, no mountains around here. That's kind of crazy. I mean, this says it's the high weald. Let's go find the highest weald. That's a castle. Where are the mountains at? There's Rotherfield. There's Stonegate. You know, none of these places are looking like... You know, actually, here's another fun one, right? What is a national park? Just try and describe a national park in your head. So first of all, this national park right here, South Downs, it's this green area on the map you can see. So if you're picturing a national park and you're not picturing this, then you're incorrect. Yeah, it's a motorway. Going through a national park, it's fine. People need to get places. Okay, that's fine though. If you're picturing a national park and you're not picturing like this, look how green this all is around them. This is going to be such a beautiful little town, right? It's like, no, this is what this looks like. Actually, this is a nice set of houses there, I guess. But there we go. This is a national park. I mean, they do have a tree in front of their house, Wow, look how national parky it is right now. I feel like I'm already. I feel like I need a park pass to be here, right? Like, thank God my taxes are, in the UK, national parks mean something different. That's the entire bit behind this comment. It is more green here than the average place. I just think calling it a national park is a bit of a stretch, right? Like, most people wouldn't even know they lived in a national park until someone went, oh yeah, did you know we live in a national park? And they'd be like, what's the consequence of that? Oh yeah, you can't have lanterns outside your door at night because it might mess up some light pollution or something. Light pollution for who? Well, that's not a question I'm interested in answering. Anyway, with that said, is religion real? Who knows? Is government real? Also, who knows? And if you want to have a good day, then make sure to come back another day. Yeah. I'm sick. I've got to stop talking, especially about dumb things that don't matter. Goodbye. I didn't hit the stop recording button. I guess you're gonna have to stare at my chair until I come back. So, what is YouTube really? I guess the whole point behind this video is that we generally make up social constructs, and we make them so powerful we forget they're social constructs. The government is made up of lots of quite real things. There is a real book somewhere, and there's a website as well, with the Road Traffic Act written down in it. Like, these are real words that exist, but they have meaning when we all apply them. If every single police officer and every single citizen in the country didn't know about this thing's existence, it would have just as little meaning as if it didn't exist. The only reason this cat is important... Oh man, he's a very important cat. Never mind, this is a bad example. There's a lot of social constructs which make up our life. And that's fine. We don't have to be like, oh yeah, social constructs are bad. I'm just trying to say, did you know there's lots of them? Did you also know that the weather is snowy in Maine? That could be true. You can't fact check me on that one. Have a good day. Goodbye. Ooh, wow, you see this? What's on Bardsey Island? You wanna see what's happening here? If there's puffins, I'm gonna be happy. If I see puffins, I'm gonna be huffins. Some of that. You know, I don't want to imply that I accidentally implied I think that I was getting married to my plumber recently, and it's okay to be gay. I just don't want to accidentally. I guess, you know, it's pretty offensive that people assume that if I was to be with a plumber, he would be a man. That's messed up really on the internet. But yeah, it'd be a sheep, clearly, because I am slightly Irish, which makes me, you know what it makes me. It's not good. Man, I wish I had sheep living with me instead. I feel like I always have like petty, like, you know, like boundary drama of like, hey, can you not leave this here? You know, like, can you know, dumb stuff like that. Like, can you not fornicate on my sofa? That's the sort of drama I have with my roommates. And, yeah, it'd be easier if it was a lamb, because the lamb's not gonna... Actually, you know, if you have two sheep... Do sheep, find other sheep? Or if you have one, are you gonna, like... Is he gonna come home with a friend one day? Or how do you have to worry about that? Let me know. Just remember, sheep are a social construct, I think. At least the idea of sheep being cute is. Like, they're gonna poop all over your living room if you put them in there. Anyway, have a good day, everyone. Unless you're unless you're not having a good one. In which case, start soon. There's not much left in it, man. Bye.